So the time has come once more, where CTGP rolls out yet another monthly update. Crazy how frequently they're doing this, getting a little hard to keep up. The next custom track review is underway, but is still far from being done, so I decided to do this instead. This. What is this? Well, I'm glad you asked, imaginary viewer, because this is something for me to do in between bigger projects that I'm working on. Basically, it's just me looking over whatever hot new track update CTGP has to offer and giving my basic thoughts on it. It's pretty much a bunch of mini custom track reviews stitched together into one video. I'll take whatever's been changed, be it removed, updated, or added, and give my general surface level thoughts on it. I won't go too in depth to leave some room to talk about it in a future video in case I want to, as well as to save some time because I don't want to spend a month writing, recording, and editing this. This is supposed to be short. Knowing me, this probably won't come out until mid-April or something, maybe even May, and I'm probably not even going to stick to doing this on a monthly basis and give up on it entirely, but I might as well give it a shot anyway, right? Of course, this is only my subjectively objective opinion, you don't have to agree with it. Just kidding, yes you do. If you don't, I will find you. That said, this is CTGP update version 1.03.1106-3. That's a lot of numbers. Oh, it's just a hotfix update. Come on, really? Really? Oh, well, that's lame. I was hoping for an actual track update. Not the best way to start a series by breaking the format before it's even established. I mean, I could wait until next month, but it's seriously going to be a while to the next review, so I'm going to need some filler content to keep me busy. Besides, there were some updates, there are a few, so well, let's go over those, why not? First up, we got Wario Coliseum. It's very curvy. Very, very curvy. And that's it. Maybe worked a little better in Double Dash, but in MKWii it just doesn't speak to me. And it goes on for a while too. It only clocks in at 3 minutes, so it's not that long, but it sure feels like it. It's pretty empty, and it doesn't help that almost the entire track is this metal grate, so the entire thing just looks and feels the same. Kinda like Static's Twinkle Circuit, but not as boring. I'm sure the wobbly design of the road could allow for some pretty hectic races, but I've never seen it happen. If you think this track is fun, or even if you think it's terrible, then that's great, but I'll believe it when I see it. When I first saw the minimap, I was expecting this to be super drawn out and tiring. To my surprise, it was actually a pretty pleasant drive. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites per se, but I wouldn't mind playing it online. It looks nice. It's themed off the classic MKWii Island from Wii Sports Resort, which is never a bad thing. The gameplay itself is similar to Wario Coliseum in the sense that it doesn't exactly have a whole lot going on, but unlike Wario Coliseum, there's just enough for it to not be too repetitive. Wow, what a concept. A one-lap track isn't repetitive? Who would have thought? Great observation. But for real, the gameplay is pretty nice. I can't pinpoint exactly what it does different from Wario Coliseum, and it could just be my nostalgia for Wii Sports Resort speaking, but I find this to be a lot nicer to play. I just hope it isn't overplayed and I stop liking it. Have I ever mentioned that I don't like circuit tracks? Because I don't like circuit tracks, and Suzuka Circuit is no exception. In fact, I'd argue it's on the lower end of circuit tracks. Usually with circuit tracks, they have a couple enemies or obstacles or something else to break up the monotony, and if they don't, then at least they have the common courtesy to look decent. Suzuka Circuit looks awful. Just awful. Everything is either pixelated and blurry, or flat colors, or both. The grass is the worst offender. Just what on earth is this? It looks like vomit. It's gross. Way to encourage the racers to stay on the road, I'll get to that. But it's kinda hard to stay on the road with a turn like this. Dude, I'm on the Mach bike. The Mach bike, the best drifting vehicle in the entire game, and I can barely make that. Imagine what it's like for karters. What, do they have to brake to make that? Who ever uses their brakes? Really, who uses their brakes in a normal race in this game aside from the CPUs? Freaking nobody. To add insult to injury, this turn comes immediately after a tediously long straightaway, and what follows is a tediously long curve. Like, dude, make up your mind. Do you want to be horribly boring or horribly horrible? Speaking of horrible, this track is almost 4 minutes long. This. Yeah, 4 minutes, 2 laps, 0 fun. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention. Did you notice that this track has a speed mod? Because I sure didn't. Yeah, I'm going 120 km/h right now, and it still feels like I'm driving in 50cc. Oh god, I'd hate to see this in 50cc, that'd be torture. It's my understanding that this track actually exists somewhere in Japan, and that's cool and all, but like with Wario Coliseum, it just doesn't translate well to Wii. It was a nice try, but it really wasn't actually all that nice. To think this track has a fun edition. Well, this sure is a flat retro track if I've ever seen one. Granted, this version is much more modernized and sleek than most, but still flat and retro nonetheless. Then again, there are only so many ways to renovate an old track without making so many changes that it may as well be a completely separate track at that point. This version of SNES Koopa Beach 2 is perfectly fine for what it is. Can't find anything to fault it for other than being a boring flat retro, but y'all already got that. The polished look of the track certainly helps to distract from the boring boringness, but there's only so much a paint job can do to improve a track. I just don't like it that much. In a world where Sandcastle Park and Faraway Land exist, I can't call this the worst beach track, but it certainly isn't my first choice either. Or second. Or third. All it is another SNES track that nobody actually likes and only gets chosen online through the randomizer. Enough said. I still don't like circuit tracks. This one's okay though. The track sharing the same road going back and forth is an interesting gimmick and elevates it above most other circuit levels, but that's not saying much considering it's still a circuit level. Again, not the worst pick to play, but there are still plenty of others that I'd rather play first. Leaving off the list on a high note, we have the best track of the update. Of the CTR tracks currently in the pack, I still prefer Cortex Castle, but this ain't that bad either. My biggest complaint is that some of the turns are a little too tight and others are pretty short notice, so the gameplay ain't the best, but it's still fine. The visuals, on the other hand, are lovely. It's built very well. Also, you can get on this thing? How? Why? What? Oh my god, that's hilarious. Now that I'm almost in last because of that, I think it's time to wrap up the updates. Engine Lab good. Me like. Moving on. This was supposed to be the part where I talked about all the cool new tracks in the update that never came. What a disappointment this update turned out to be. I mean, hey, at least that means this video's gonna be shorter. As if that's supposed to mean I'll get it out in a timely manner. And that's it. That's all. That's the end. No new tracks, only updates. Only one of which was actually changed, by which I mean it got upscaled, and bug fixes. And the rest of the updates are also bug fixes. What great content this is. Hopefully there will be something more in April. Oh well, see ya.